So let's start with John Bolton in Seoul for high-state talks with officials here. The U.S. National Security Advisor met this morning with his South Korean counterpart and is on to his next meeting with other South Korean officials. Let's get the very latest from our Presidential Office correspondent, Shin Se-min. Se-min.
Mark, we are learning that John Bolton has already held a meeting with his South Korean counterpart Chung Eui-yong here at the top office and has moved on to his next appointment, a meeting with Korea's defense chief Jeong Kyeong-doo. As for the meeting between the security chiefs, given that it was a closed-door encounter, we are still waiting for those details to come out. But we can speculate that the two had discussed Japan's trade restrictions against Seoul, as well as the peace process on the Korean Peninsula. Now, the ongoing trade spat between South Korea and Japan is, of course, a concerning issue for Washington as well, as the rift between the two Asian nations, who are both close allies to Washington, could even jeopardize security in the region. Now, Seoul had previously hinted that it may consider ditching the General Security of Military Information Agreement, known as the GSOMIA, with Tokyo, which would deal a great blow to Washington's pursuit of stronger three-way security cooperation. And that pact is seen as a key to countering North Korean threats, as well as checking China's growing military clout in the region. So again, the Seoul-Tokyo trade route cannot be seen as just an issue between the two nations. And to strongly make that case, the floor leader of South Korea's main opposition, Liberty Korea Party, Na Kyung-won, requested a meeting with Bolton earlier this morning and expressed how Japan's retaliatory trade restrictions against Seoul are damaging trilateral cooperation between Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo.
And Se-min, what are some of the other issues that could come up from John Bolton's meetings with South Korean officials today?
Right. The presidential office had previously said that the high-level U.S. officials' trip to Seoul isn't necessarily limited to one issue or another. Rather, in order to maintain close bilateral relations between the allies, such a meeting is essential. But I just want to point out that it is John Bolton's first solo trip to Seoul at a time when high-level U.S. consultation is critical, perhaps indicating that the current issues surrounding the Korean Peninsula do require some mediation by the U.S. And as you've mentioned, just likely to be brought up today during their talks, this consultations on the Strait of Hormuz, as the U.S. is hoping to build a multinational force to safeguard commercial shipping in that area amid the tension with Iran and the activities there in recent weeks. And to wrap his trip, Bolton will also sit down with South Korea's top diplomat later today before leaving Seoul at 4 p.m. Mark?